I'm Dr. Jeannie Gudith, your private school expert, here to share valuable tips and trends to keep your private school thriving. So the topic today is selling your school. So I get calls probably every day from schools that are interested or curious if they can sell their school. And I'm here to tell you, yes, you can. So if you're thinking about retiring or transitioning, then this is the video for you. Let's jump right in. The first thing you need to think about is what type of school are you offering? Are you maybe a Montessori preschool? Are you maybe a STEM K through 12 school? Are you a specific type of college? Are you a IT trade school? Each buyer is looking for something a little different. So depending on what type of school you are, you're going to attract certain buyers that are looking for that specific school. But there are some key things that you're going to want to have before you put your school on the market. And the first thing is accreditation. So all of our buyers are looking for accredited schools. It doesn't mean that you can't sell it if you don't have accreditation, but it's much harder to, because buyers are looking for a school that is accredited. So if you aren't accredited, you might want to think about it before you sell your school. And this is because accredited schools usually can increase their enrollment faster. They have more credibility. If you're, a high school, you can get your college board number. There's a lot of things that come with being accredited. So buyers typically, when they're looking to purchase a school, are looking for a school that's already accredited, because they don't really want to have to go through the process themselves. And if they do, they're going to pay less for that school. Let's jump into the second thing that you should have before selling your school, and that is CVA certification. You don't have to have it, but buyers really love it when you do. So what is it? CVA certification, or SEVP, means that you can issue I-20 visas to foreign students. So if obviously this doesn't really work for preschools or even K through 8s. It can work for middle school, but usually it's high schools, colleges, trade schools. So if you're a high school, college, or trade school, maybe a middle school, just depends, then CVA certification is something that's going to increase the price of your school and increase the interest from buyers in your school. So if you're accredited and you don't have CVAs, it might be really advantageous for you to go through the process. It's about a 9 to 12 month process, and it's through the government. It's through Homeland Security, and you have to show some evidence. And if you're already accredited, it's a much easier process. If you're not accredited, you can still get CVA certified, but there's just more. It's a little bit more rigorous because you're not accredited. And if you don't have accreditation, buyers, it doesn't mean that they won't look at your school, but it's better if you do. So accreditation and then CVAs and CVA certification really highlights your school, because then you can bring in students from other countries and increase the revenue at your school. So I would highly recommend CVA certification for your school. And then the third thing is your financials. So they're going to do a deep dive into your financials. So you're going to need to have, or want to have at least, really strong financials, a really strong P&L statements, really strong when you file for your taxes. They're going to look at all of your tax returns. So if your financials look strong, that's going to increase the price of your school, of what they're going to pay for it. Now, if you don't have strong financials, it doesn't mean that you can't find a buyer. You absolutely can. This is just really reflective on the price that they're going to pay for your school. So typically, buyers will pay anywhere from 3 to 5 EBITDA, and that's a formula that is calculated that looks at your school. And that's not the only thing they look at. That's just the baseline. They look at accreditation, they look at CVA certification, they look at other factors that they're going to pay for, your assets, do you own your property, those types of things, the longevity of your school, those types of things they're going to look at. But your financials are the key component, because they're going to look at those and they're going to go through all of them. Usually the last 3 years, they typically like to see. So making your financials look strong, and this is really great if you're thinking about selling in a year, 2 years, 3 years, you can start now and really look at, what you need in order to sell your school for the best price that you can get when you're looking to retire or transition out of education. The next thing that you need to look at is, do you own your land or do you lease it? So if you own your property, you're going to need at least a appraisal that's about a year old. They like to see something that's pretty recent. So if you own property, it would be really important to get that property appraised right before you decide to put it on the market, so that you have an appraisal that you can show them and say, yes, this is what the property is worth. We've already had it appraised. And then you can add that to the price of what your school is worth. And then you can sell them in a combination. Now, if you lease space, you will need to get those leases typically reassigned to the buyer. So you need to make sure that wherever you're leasing from, they're okay with you selling it to somebody else who's going to be running the school. Sometimes if you're leasing from a church or a synagogue or something like that, you'll need board approval. Now, you don't want to go telling everybody that you're thinking about selling your school, but if you might need to get them to sign an NDA showing that, they're going to keep it quiet. So you don't want parents to panic, because sometimes that can happen when you talk about selling your school. So usually it's good to keep it under the wraps until you really decide to get to that place where you want to sell it. Now, some schools come out and tell their community that they are going to sell, like they're retiring and they're going to sell, and the families are okay with it. So it really just depends on your community and how your families are going to feel about it. And then the next thing you need to think about is the longevity of your school. Buyers love it when your school's been in business for a long time, because it shows stability. So if your school's only been in business for 2 or 3 years, it's going to be much harder to sell. Not that you can't sell it. We've sold schools that have only been in business for a couple of years. But it's going to be much harder because they're looking for that longevity, that you've been in business for a while, you have accreditation, you have CVAS, you have a great group of staff that have been there for a while. So longevity is going to play a part in when you go to sell your school on the price point that you're going to get for it. Because the longer you've been in business, obviously, the more they're going to, look at, okay, this school is a solid school. So there you have it. Those are some main things to think about when you're thinking about maybe retiring or transitioning out of the education business, or just, selling your school and going on to something like a consulting or teaching part-time kind of thing, because we have a lot of owners that do that when they're ready to retire. So I hope that was helpful. If you think so, please like, subscribe, share, comment. I love reading all your comments. I love learning about your specific questions. It helps me create more content for the channel. And if you need any help selling your school, please feel free to reach out. Thanks so much.